See, I had a wife, beautiful, like you, who tells me I worry too much, who tells me I ought to smile more, who gambles and gets in deep with the sharks. Hey. One day they carve her face. We had no money for surgeries. She can't take it. I just want to see her smile again. I just wanted to know that I don't care about the scars. So, I stick a razor in my mouth and do this. Myself. And you know what? She can't stand the sight of me. She leaves. Now I see the funny side. Now I'm always smiling.
Well done.
However, because you have said certain things about fallacies and the fallacious aspects of the study process itself, whilst in other moments saying that you weren't allowed to know anything about it, there's some stains on your credibility now. Yeah, well, once we've ruled out that this project to unify all the world's religions is only going to spur off more denominations, as it has always done in the past, and yet they'll keep the slogan posted, and they'll keep saying that's what they're doing, and they're not challenging, falsifying, or overthrowing, or ordering a replacement creation story amongst the Abrahamics. It seems like they're accepting the. They could be making similar arguments, like perhaps Blaise Pascal's wager that, well, I may as well believe, because if I believe and it's not true, then I've lost nothing, because I'll just be dead. But if I don't believe, and it is true, then I'll await an ensemble of punishment. I decided some years ago I'm not going to let my character be discredited because of being inadequately crossed. I should use different terminologies there, because to black market people, inadequately crossed sounds like we should have crossed him better. As in fuck me over better, as in synonymous with a better betrayal. And well, to the shiny white market it means, yeah, you should have gone and talked to him instead of getting off to a particular moment and from a distance. What happened before that? What happened? What was going on? Like, don't ask questions. Yeah, I've worked out whatever metrics that these people come up with in their mind about the truths of the human body. It's a bit stunted from the crucifixion. So when greeting people, relatives of people of whom you are fond, hold your arms out like with a bend here, not in a direct line like there. or else he'll trigger a theme later, conversation later on in the group about the virtue of self-sacrifice. So anyway, I'm getting ready to attend to my duties for the day, which will be brief, and then come home and do some more recovering. But yeah, you've got to wonder what it means, like, we're uniting all these world's religions. I'm truly distrustful of, and I would be had I never met any of them, but of this Masonic clause and advertisement slogan of, we have your best interests at heart, we know what matters to you, we are uniting. It's a profound claim. Denominations, just more denominations are the result of uniting any religion. Even if you took the flying spaghetti monster that atheists use as a joke and sat down the church at the flying spaghetti monster, there'd be some saying, well, it actually hurts his feelings that he's called a monster. Stop calling him the flying spaghetti monster and start calling him something like the flying spaghetti sentient being. And then there'd be a denominational split where others are going, no, fuck you. He was known from the start as the flying spaghetti monster, and he's going to be known until the future as the flying spaghetti monster. And then there'll be other people going, no, we'll stop saying that, like, Christopher show some respect to Mr. Reeves, he's dead. He's the one that brought flight, really, to cinema. Nor does anything in your doctrine stipulate how much time and how much of an impact it is on this character's schedule that he's flying. Like, does he fly more than any other modes of travel? What about just calling him the sentient spaghetti being? And then they'll go off and spawn another denomination. So this Freemasonry rubbish where they go, well, we'll say that we're unifying, we'll hide completely and be in complete secrecy, but we'll state that we're unifying all the world's religions. And so a person has enough of difficulty being consistent just with any one of them, much less your campaign to unite them all. It's I think it's a like, hey, Christian slaves and Abrahamic faith slaves, get ready to be real slavey, because we can hack phones and we can rob your house and we can say you'd go over here in a drunken and drugged stupor and make a fool of yourself. And embellishing or wanting to embellish reports being, see, because without license, without the license to kill, without the license to be a detective, without the neurology license, Roger Toll's got this Freemasonry to help him gauge a martyr from a non-martyr. So, but when the method that he's using is obviously books with extremely dubious and questionable historicity, then I mean, can you imagine it? Like, he wants sort of relief from that. He wants relief from the impeding and imposing question lines of, you're misjudging people against a standard that is not even an accurate depiction of a martyr to begin with. So why don't you go back to the garden and you know, suck a bunch of dicks. And he doesn't like feeling those walls close in, so, you know, embellish. To join the fray of the creation of the 4 Gospels in the first place, and embellish a police report to say, you know, I was over in some suburb that I don't know the directions to or back from, visiting every single strip club and whorehouse there was, because deep down on the inside I'm a repressed Christian. That is a term lacking in cogency in and of itself, oxymoronic, a repressed Christian. In a way, it will generate like a back off effect. There's nothing you can do, just back off. I mean, why isn't you know, so a repressed Christian as opposed to a conversive and engageable, conversationally engageable Christian? He chose to invoke this term repressed, and it has upshots for him. It would mean, you can see an element of it is that divide and conquer wedge into your friendship groups, because if they trust in the veracity of this statement, then they go, well, then the best way to help him is to just help him understand Christianity properly. Whereas I'm going, you fucking dickhead, we both know you were going through my computer when I lived at Tuggeranong, and we both know that given I had no workers' employment contract, that the verbal trust was based on the question, is your stuff opposed to the existence of an unbeliever? If not, then and we work on science, then cool. If you are, then I'll need to know so I can work somewhere else. So yeah, so the concept repressed Christian, I've just spent time thinking about it, and it's like saying the Christian within you is inaccessible. Only we can get to it with the $1,000 injections that we get $1,000 out of the Health Insurance Commission from. When you're too sick to be working where you want to work, and like I was selling all my Nintendos, all my books, all my CDs, to pay for food, so that I could avoid signing up for Centrelink. In the end, it was a Centrelink officer that said, no, we don't want you to sell any more of your things, sign up for Centrelink. And to say things like what they're trying to say, I said on for this magistrate's court appearance, that I called the Health Insurance Commission corrupt. They can't excuse that conversation as a simple confusion on their end, because I was specifically talking about how recycled prescription medicines can be claimed for a second time, and then the HIC billed a second time, and the HIC winds up double paying for stock that it never bought in the first place. That isn't me calling the HIC corrupt. It's me describing testimony from the workplace, where I obviously comprehended how the HIC were being ripped off. So why would I attack and call corrupt in the first place an agency I've had nothing to do with and haven't worked for, and don't know anything about, aside from the submission of brand substitution PBS claims to them? And why should I call them corrupt? How does that amount to calling them corrupt in the same conversation where I've reported their mistreatment? it's about as cogent as this whole repressed Christian thing. It's like maybe you could work that angle if you wanted to sell a Christian that signed a True Love Waits campaign, never to have sex until married. You could sell them a blow-up doll and say that the blow-up doll is actually like when they go. But aren't these the sort of things that guys that just, you know, like for hobbyists and sex fetishists, and you could say, no, this blow-up doll is a repressed Christian, and they go, oh, maybe that'd work. Toilet time. Oh, here's some more of Libby's urinal cakes. She's got quite a whole range of them right about here. You and I might think her morals are piss weak, but it's clear that when she made these urinal cakes, that it was from the heart. Aren't they just looking scrumptious? We'll be back after these words. Going on, and to this point, Roger's like, on the one front, in want of the vindication of, you know, the slogan is, was I really that wrong for outsourcing my morals from a religious story that has no proofs to it whatsoever, and then poking around in other people's art while playing How to Host a Murder at Lake Krakenbach, poking around in other people's art and thinking I've found motives for the criminal mind in various ways. And so yeah, it's very much like going, well, this person spent a bunch of time living under a constitution that's axiom considers the equality of all men. Whether you want to get into the nuanced arguments about created by random forces and natural selection, and the interplay thereof, or created by some supernatural being. The point is the equality in creation. So yeah, Roger's out to vindicate that he can detect a martyr, but what I've demonstrated is he can't detect a martyr within his own texts, upon which he is basing all his claims to detect a martyr. So obviously someone who's a martyr, who can say who can say, well, if there's a religious nutcase martyr on a crusade here in the city of Canberra, I can detect them. Here's the book. Here are the texts that we've studied. That we believe demonstrate to us a functional understanding of what is meant by, or what constitutes the definition of a martyr. So when we find one, we impersonate their phone calls, we convince their associates of a type of situation. We try to get as many of their associates consequently saying so-and-so needs mental help, mental intervention, and it's a nice thrill on their end that the person winds up getting accosted at the end without having phoned a whole bunch of people. Some people are just will get frustrated at that. That's the crowning moment of two Mason ped homos feeling at heart the way that they would feel when playing Tommy Sticks. But yeah, the problem with there not being complete disclosure of because what they do try and do is water down the terms and go, well, what this person has is an illness called illness 4 beta 2 gamma 7, and that's what they'll say to your face and to your family, and it's just 4 beta 2 gamma 7, and then in higher where they cut the bureaucratic shit a little bit more, they'll talk a little bit more closer to the truth. But yeah, I find that process to be a condescending one, because their condescension and their failure to disclose just leaves it's quoted by the things that are never said and never discussed. So and it means that, and it does mean things like if you're in pain because you're trying to recover from a skull fracture, so you go in and talk to a doctor at Calvary and she has 4 security guards and pin you to the floor. That does happen. Now no matter how injured or sick I get, I will not ever call Calvary Hospital. I will get keyring cards made saying never to be taken to the Canberra Hospital or to Calvary. But because on an idealistic level Freemasonry is all that he's got. See, what Roger didn't consider was that day where I got him to agree. I mean, it was him coming forward. It was lucky. Like I wanted to say more, but I thought, well, you've impressed me, Roger, a bit, somewhat. You've come forward and said, yeah, outside of work, what you do is your business. And you can enjoy some privacy. He impressed me that moment, though I wish I had said more to him now. Like I wish I had said, your entire sense of being alarmed is like given your inquiry into people's like Andrea Bocelli singing "Time to Say Goodbye." Should anyone who played that be bombarded with Suicide Squad, mental health, Lifeline? Oh, we just heard you playing "Time to Say Goodbye," and we thought the police said either they're celebrity impersonators or they're suicidal beyond reproach. See, false dichotomies are strategic too. They can sort of bridge the interests of the profiteer while they wedge away and distract other more critical lines of thought from from occurring. For instance, to say of you, you know, are you crazy, or are you clinically crazy, or are you hostile? When really you're a mistreated person, but your report officially involves admitting to criminal behavior on behalf of a guy that's going, our chemist is 50 years old, and he's got his AF penis muscle, and he's got, you know, whatever cops love him, injecting his hemorrhoids into their biceps. And yeah, he's a total coward, but no, better go. So you assess it situation to situation. It's not always gonna happen this way, because not every situation is corrupted. But if you find in a dichotomy both options are complementary to one or more agencies or corporate bodies' interests, and if you find that like almost like the opposite question or questions are not being asked, and that facts have been embellished, is also to the want of the person that's posed the dichotomy. So things are ruled out by the range of questions given. You know. I've studied this to some degree in relation to biphobia, religiously charged biphobia. The way they talk, and it's permeated a lot of our lingo. Oh, we all have to make sacrifices. We choose. We all have the right to choose, and we aren't inbred from a garden. But nice to see you. And yeah, the way that conversations will go if they go, you know, it's like either this person is physically sick, or thinks he's physically sick but is really mentally sick. Capital chemists. No. They kind of do that. Yeah, not a good place to work beyond 9 months. Even you'll wonder if you're pregnant, because it's time to leave. Yeah, so anyway, to some extent, being a person of taste and experience allows you to, especially experiences that challenge the mind. And these are like 20s, late teens, 20s. Creativity, which I wish there had been more of, and will be more of. But now, like, to talk about Roger's fucking brain, as I've tried to say, like, I'm trying to find ways to peg and pin the core, like the sort of algorithmic parameters of his psychopathy, because, yeah, what's permitting the whole bulk of strings of code over here and like, over here and over here, because the guy's I think he's so fucked in the head. He's antithetical to the basic introductory process. You know, he's had to contend with the concept of I've killed someone while trying to help. I have insurance. And plus a religion that would say, well, don't worry, Roger, like, it might have been cheap, shitty discount paracetamol, but they obviously deserved that to be culled from the populace, you know? So yeah, I look at him like wanting. I look at how he could have had various things achieved in various ways throughout life, had he wanted to. He certainly can't say that his staff, he thinks of his staff like his children, unless I don't know, I suppose, unless he still keeps... He'd have to start posting Eden in various places of the store if he wants to... On the uniforms, like... Eden... Capital Eden Chemist. Yeah, just for sake of clarity, surely. Yeah, you know, while you're employing... Especially while you're employing the underage, Roger and Gary. If you think of all the stuff like your children put Eden on every uniform and every register. Yeah, so ordered to make to introspectively realize and make it as a personal sexual health address that was against my explicit tastes, implicit tastes, sense of attraction. What was more or less occurring to him was that these artists and philosophers and people that I draw a lot of inspiration and learn a lot from, and whose skills I admire, are all objects of sex, ideal sexual acquisition, of sexual pursuit. So in my mind, I'm not like thinking about, you know, how well a certain singer sings. I'm thinking about getting the singer into bed, apparently. That's what I mean, like, and this surveillance is a bad thing. And so, would this have occurred to him if he didn't believe himself inbred in his religion? Why are judgments of a sexual nature made by him via personal life surveillance for which he hasn't checked you for consent first, and you've been alone in a room, and yet sex is the whole thematical scope of his judgments. What does that mean? You know, so yeah, there's a lot more to be explored and explained about this man's sick head, but what he has tried to deny me the right to is something so basic in life that he'd be called hideous. He'd be called the hideous man for trying to use the status check of an important friendship as leverage, and also use the proposition we, however, have acquired more information by means of our means of surveillance than you know, than the AFP know, than and collateral leverage, fucking dickheads. It's been very tiring. Now 12 years on. But what mind does that? And I think, well, it's like what I said the other day. It's like when you think of what he wants, like his drive to acquire, it doesn't make sense for his drive to acquire and be a salesman and open 40th anniversary stores and, you know, have coffees with Melita who can look him straight in the wonky eye and, you know, be so honest. It makes little sense that he hasn't wanted heirs of his own. That would give him a more personal input on how a mind is molded. Yeah, people that worked from between the new millennium and 2010, and hear of Roger Toll saying, "I think of my staff as my children." Like, have a bucket ready. You just wasted an ecstasy pill listening to that. But yeah, my contention is that he would have sought progeny young, so that he'd have an heir to take over, continue his work. That he would simultaneously lose, and this is why I think Gary has more empathy than Roger on many matters. It's because, though I'm not ruling him out as a person who's dangerous, I do my best work in the dark, said Mr. Cairns. Well, yeah. He also has raised children, and no. Yeah, so I do think it would be a fair question just to see what Cairns would say in reply to the question, would you allow Roger to just, in any order, finger the anuses of your children? You know, they're grown up now, they're mature. If you could just line them up in a squat position, and let Roger have a poke. Maybe he'll use his mortar. Maybe he'll just use his finger. You know, would Gary say, "No, Roger, sorry, I draw the line here"? Or would he let him? Yeah, Roger's the more diplomatic of the two. you at times sense, well, Gary's got to be like possibly into more fucked up shit because he's the quiet one. Who's made up of parsimonious slogan-like dissertations. It wouldn't surprise me if he's the one to approve or disapprove of Jenny Coulston's slogan pitches in marketing. Yeah, but him having this definitely demonstrated angle of, well, that which I didn't even work to, and it's ironic because for all his arguments about, you know, why the culling goes on, and why he thinks certain entire demographics can fuck off and be laid to waste, he refers back to the question of their work and what work have they done. When what they really mean is what work have they done that's complementary to the interests of Capital Chemist franchise. But yeah, I had the just grounds for concern for welfare, and they had the audacity to represent that it was some sort of secret that they, by way of their surveillance, knew more and yet wouldn't disclose it to me, which was only to leave me thinking of you know, thinking along the lines of a worst case scenario. Otherwise, if there was a good case scenario, then surely they would tell me, even though they acquired this information via surveying. I mean, I'd heard enough feedback from Roger about me from his surveying, like, oh, Luke dreaming of flying. I'm like, well, not exactly. Having done mapping in 3D animation classes, you can have nice dreams where you're just floating above roads and you have a semi sort of bird's eye view of the city. Yeah, so it's one thing, I think, to go, well, here are shortcomings, because it's like he's definitely gone and confirmed that, well, that Roger hasn't produced heirs to his little inbred throne is considered a shortcoming even to him, or else he wouldn't leverage or try or use as collateral the concept of the prospect of the welfare of someone whose welfare means a great deal to me, as leverage against me during work shifts. Now, the more that they saw that I wasn't taking kindly to this, I wasn't taking kindly to it at all. I'm getting told don't keep old newspapers, and I'm like, happens to be the relevancy of the story. You know, I hardly ever read newspapers, but this one is sad and I'm keeping it. And you know, getting told things like that, like, you can see if input into your life to that extent is it's so pedantic. It's it's like having a cop and a tailor on you at the same time. Like, a policeman's just making alterations to your pants, and a cop's just feeling around to make sure you haven't got grenade balls or whatever. So there comes a time when one has had enough. And yeah, that time had come by the time I'd thought, well, last chance, O'Connor. And then a new bridge had been created between me, a superior pharmacist, and the boss, when really I would have been intellectually distancing myself from the boss as much as possible, because she was drumming religion back into my head. So this girl I was seeing, I was constantly saying to her, yeah, like, I can't stand the religion. I hate thinking in religious terms. It always ruins everything. Bird said I better make way to the bus. Now, so some further annotations on corruptive religious Molongoloidia in their research theology. I call them preach searches, because yeah, you can't really separate a religious converter at work from what Gary and Roger try to do with their clockwork. Remember, think of them as, if you're an unbeliever, if your empathy expands beyond the hetero community, you don't need to be. You don't really need to. Yeah, religion stresses heterosexual relationships as the only ones for which you aren't required to be murdered. So if you're even an empathizer with any other demographic, well, yeah, see, what they don't have is what they do have is, well, from our beginnings, we take after this man who killed his brother, and now the mystery question is, does he Cain impregnate his mother, or does Adam impregnate his mother further, have more kids with her, and then their kids have kids with each other? Or do Adam and Eve have more sons and daughters so that Cain didn't have to have direct incestuous reproductive sex with Eve? Was that considered a generosity at the time? You know, you have them coming from this background, and my suggestion is that people consider is that it's a psychopathy of its own of its own kind, like right there. And with usual